Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jaclynn. This is my jungle, and if you're not new here, well, I appreciate you for coming back and for sticking around. So today I wanted to talk about AGLAONEMA because I feel like they're literally the easiest plant on the face of the planet, but then you have a lot of people, or at least I have a lot of people in my comments telling me, nope, I kill those, can't keep them alive, don't know why. So today I wanted to talk about how to not kill your AGLAONEMA. So I'll show you a few of the ones that I have in my collection while we're talking about them. I don't actually know the name of this one, but I picked it up from Costa Farms. So I'm sure that they know the name, and I actually think that they told me the name, but I don't remember. But it's a really pretty silvery kind of leaf with this lime green down the middle, and it's been very happy. And as long as I water it, it's been very happy. It takes a lot of abuse and neglect from me, and it's still going strong. So the first thing on my list is lighting. These are definitely not the type of plant that's getting super tall out there in nature, so they do tend to be on the ground a little bit more. They're not epiphytic, so they're not like climbing up tree trunks and things like that you'll see with other aroids, but they do still want light. There's no such thing as a low light plant. I really don't like the idea of that because like all plants want bright indirect light, if not more than that. So bright indirect, what does that even mean? I would say that that's like partial shade, if your brain like works better for understanding that. So basically you want to make sure that this is getting bright light, but not direct sunlight, or else you will burn these leaves. They are not the kind of plant, like I said, that's going to be growing up above the treetops or anything like that. They're usually down on the ground underneath other plants. So AGLAONEMA, bright indirect light. I'm sure that you could acclimate some of them to tolerate direct light, but you're going to get some burning probably in the process. So I keep all of mine under grow lights. Mine are under the Barina T5 grow lights, and they really like it there. Or I used to have them in slightly pulled back from a west-facing window when we were in Connecticut, but around here we don't have as much window space. We had giant windows in Connecticut. We don't have quite as many around here that my cat doesn't have access to, so these are living under the Barina T5s, and they've been doing really, really well for me. So bright indirect light on these ones. You definitely don't need to scorch these with light, and if you do put them under a grow light, make sure they have a good amount of space. You don't want it to be sitting too close to the plant or you will burn it. Next on the list is watering, and I feel like this is where most people probably mess up AGLAONEMA. A lot of the issues that you're gonna get are from the inconsistent watering. A lot of issues you're gonna get with pretty much any plant is gonna be from the inconsistent watering. So I always say that less is more with these. I don't water them as often as I water my other plants, and I only let them stay wet for a couple of days. And if they're staying wet longer than that, then it's probably not a good thing. They don't want to sit in wet soil for too long. So it is really important to make sure that you have good drainage, which is the next thing on my list. Soil. And the pot that you have it in matters. So most of mine I grow like this. I'll show you. This is in a clear plastic pot so that I can see in there. You can see that it's still moist in some areas, which is how I know that this plant has been watered in the last few days. It'll probably be totally dry by tomorrow. This is the AGLAONEMA Red Army. By the way, it is a cross between the tricolor and rotundum, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, but don't quote me. And I keep them all in a semi-chunky aroid mix. So when I mix this, I don't make it quite as chunky as I would for like a monstera, because the roots on AGLAONEMA are different than Monstera. They're not quite as thick and robust as other aroids, so you do want to be a little bit more careful with what you're putting it in. So a regular potting medium, I use Fox Farms. Everything will be linked down below for you guys. And then I just add in like some extra perlite and bark, but I don't add in too much for these. It's kind of hard to tell, but the clear pots for sure help. If you're gonna put it in something like terracotta, then you're gonna be watering more frequently for sure. But if you put it in something plastic with good drainage and just enough perlite in there, it should have really good airflow, and it shouldn't stay wet for too long, because I feel like the easiest way to kill these is keeping them wet for too long, or just like not watering them at all. So a good way to know that you are overwatering your plant, which is watering it too frequently, not letting it dry out in between waterings, is if you start to see yellowing. So you'll get yellow, mushy leaves, and a lot of the time you'll get brown tips from overwatering, but honestly you can also get them from underwatering. So if the plant and the stems feel mushy before they die, you're probably overwatering, and if they feel really crunchy and crispy, you're probably underwatering. So if you have leaves that are coming off the bottom that are super yellow and crispy, it's probably underwatering. Of course, it is part of the natural process of the plant to kind of chuck its old leaves as it continues to grow new ones, but it shouldn't be happening at a super rapid pace. You shouldn't have a bare stem and just 2 leaves at the top. You're probably not watering it enough. So for these, like I said, I will only let them stay moist like this for a couple of days, and then I'll let them totally dry out for a few days before I water them again. So I would say definitely wait for these to go at least 80% dry, if not 100% dry, before you water. But then, like any plant, don't leave them like that for too long. So I always say let them dry out totally, but don't let them stay like that for a long time, because they're not gonna like it. So AGLAONEMA Red Army, I really love this one actually, and it has been an easygoing variety for me. I thought that it was gonna be a problem child because I have so many issues with the tricolor. Granted, I should have said this in the beginning. There are some AGLAONEMA that are just harder to grow than others. I'm talking about like just the regular AGLAONEMA for the most part in this video, like the types that you're gonna find easily at the store, not necessarily the more rare types that are coming out of like Indonesia, because those do tend to be a little bit more difficult to grow. Okay, so the next one I want to show you is this Commutatum Silver. This one is from my friend Tessa down in Texas. You can kind of see like the little Commutatum vibe going on, but this one was so sad, you guys, I'm not gonna lie, because it was not in good soil. So I did repot it recently into my aroid chunky mix. You can see some big chunks of perlite in there, and into this plastic container so I can actually monitor the soil and know when it's dry. And ever since, it put out this new leaf very, very quickly. So I'm happy that this one is bouncing back. They will definitely let you know when they're thirsty. This is one of those types of plants that'll get really droopy and the leaves will get curly and just look kind of sad. So you definitely want to catch it before your plant gets to that point, because if it's gotten to the point where it's droopy, you've waited a little bit too long to water it. So temperature and humidity for these, I would say just keep in mind where they tend to grow. It is a more tropical plant, so they do like a little bit higher humidity, but it's gonna vary. Obviously, AGLAONEMA to AGLAONEMA, they don't all grow in the same exact place. So if you have questions about a specific type of AGLAONEMA, I always tell people just look up where it grows, like where it naturally comes from, and try and mimic that environment to the best of your ability. So these are obviously going to grow totally fine in low humidity. They just might grow a little bit slower for you. Regular home humidity is totally fine. Like I normally say, unless your house humidity is like well below 50% like all the time, then I feel like a lot of plants would probably struggle, besides like desert plants in that environment. But it's not really like a deal breaker for these. I grow these just like out in the living room, in the bedroom. It's not really a big deal with these, but obviously in the winter you want to pull them away from drafty windows and things like that, same as you would with any plant. So I wouldn't say that these are really super complicated when it comes to humidity or temperature. These are going to be fine chilling in your kitchen. It shouldn't give you any problem. They literally put these in like airports, restaurants. Like I see Aglaonema everywhere in the worst possible conditions, and they're still growing. They might not always look great, but they still grow. So I wouldn't really stress the temperature and the humidity. Literally, these grow in like air-conditioned doctor's offices with no light. And I don't know how it happens, but it does. So clearly you don't want to do that to your plants. That's kind of torture. But I'm just saying it's not something that you need to really worry about with the Aglaonema, unless you're getting something really fancy. Fertilizer for these ones. Honestly, I do the same thing that I do with all my plants to these ones. It might be overkill, but they get all the good stuff. All of it. I don't skimp on anything for any of my plants. I'll leave my fertilizer routine linked up here for you guys. All the products are going to be in my description box as well. They're always there, so I definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested in everything that I do use. But regular fertilizer for these is going to be absolutely fine. I know people that just never fertilize their plants, and their Aglaonema are still fine. So it's not like a deal breaker, but it's one of those things where I tell people, like, if you do it regularly, your plants will benefit from it. So I do recommend getting yourself on a good fertilizer routine that doesn't feel overwhelming for you. Start small and just do it. Just do it every time you water, and your plants will thrive, like all of them. I use a foliar spray from Urban Gardener as well. I'll have it linked down below. I use it on all of my plants, and all of my plants love it, and they all benefit from it. There's lots of research out there that shows that if you put the fertilizer on the foliage as well as the roots, it just helps the plant grow a lot faster. So 10 out of 10 recommend fertilizing your plants. It's not scary. It's not overwhelming. I promise I will help you. Definitely go and check out that video. It's a good place to start. Okay, so then propagation is one of the last things I want to chat with you guys about, because these are super easy to propagate. You can literally just chop it at the stem. This is probably a bad vessel for me to put this in. And I just throw them right in water. So this is another Aglaonema that I have that was looking pretty sad. So I chopped it, and clearly this leaf is gonzo. And change your water once a week. Don't be like me. And it's putting out a new leaf in water. So it's definitely perking up, and it's putting out roots, and it's only been in water for a couple of weeks now. So I'd say that water propagating these is probably going to be the easiest thing for you to do. Obviously, if you have like other methods for rooting, like I'm going to have to put this in something else. It's like the same size. If you have other methods for rooting that you prefer, then you do you, boo-boo. I just don't like to overcomplicate it if I don't need to. So we do have some really nice thick roots coming off of this guy here. So a couple more inches of root, and I will definitely pot it up in my semi-chunky aeroid mix. So again, propagate however you want to. You can literally just chop the stem in between two nodes and throw it in whatever you want to root it in. These are really quick and easy to propagate. So another thing that's good to know about Aglaonema is that if it blooms, you can just cut it off. They are not super exciting blooms. They're not like flowers. They're literally just like aeroid blooms. They look the same as every other aeroid bloom, and they do take a lot of energy away from the plant, and especially when you get like clusters of blooms on this plant, it can really take away from the foliage, and it can take away from the energy that the plant is giving the foliage. You might lose foliage off of the bottom, some of the older leaves. So I do always recommend cutting them off clearly that's not like everybody's thing. People get excited about flowers, but they're not like exciting flowers. I do the same thing with like all of my aroids if I get a flower. Obviously not my anthurium because I do pollinate those, but majority of the time with your philodendron and stuff like that, AGLAONEMA, like you can't do anything with those flowers. You can't take pollen, you can't do anything with it. So it just doesn't really make sense to keep it on the plant. They're not a pretty exciting flower like Hoya blooms are. My Matilde is working on her blooms over there. We're going to do a video all about her very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, you can just cut these off the same as I say about peperomia blooms. They're not cute. They're just kind of a waste of energy for the plant. So, I mean, obviously you do you, boo-boo. It's your plant. Like, you have the right to do whatever you want with your plants. But if it were me, I would definitely just remove the flowers so that your plant can focus more on growing foliage or roots, whatever it's working on at the time. So that's everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about concerning AGLAONEMA. Let me know if you still have any questions in the comment section down below. I feel like that sentence did not come out well, but it's fine. I'm not going to edit it out. So yeah, I don't have a ton in my collection right now, but I do have a couple of really cute ones that I'm looking forward to growing out and throwing more stuff on the floor while I do it. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, if you still have questions, let me know and I will do my best to answer them. If you have any additional care tips for AGLAONEMA that you want to share with everybody else and with me too, feel free to put that down below so that we can learn from each other. Definitely always recommend going in the comment section, even if you are not the type to leave comments, and just read what other people are saying. I learn a lot from just talking to other people in the plant community. Plus, you never know who you might meet. So that is it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that if you are an AGLAONEMA killer, that you have the courage to try again, because they are really easy and there are a lot of really beautiful varieties out there, and it would just be a shame to write off a whole entire genus just because you perceive it as more difficult than it is. So sometimes it just comes down to really cracking the code on a specific plant, and when you do, it's honestly so rewarding. It's kind of how I feel about like anthurium right now, but that's not what this video is about. We can talk about them another time. So if you enjoyed this, you should definitely give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from me. There's a join button down there if you want to be part of the official plant fam. I've been slacking on my members only uploads and I really do apologize. I promise you I'll have a bunch of stuff for you, especially because we're going away in June and July, and I do like to throw my vlogs up for my members only since they're usually not plant related. More personal stuff over there for sure. So if you're interested in that, there are a bunch of videos already up and you can check them out if you become a member. So I love you guys so very much. If you watched this whole entire video, leave me emojis, leave me, oh gosh, this is the pressure is real. I don't know, you guys, just leave me emojis, leave me whatever emojis you feel like. Just say hi, be like, hey, I watched it, I enjoyed it, I appreciate it. And it really does help the algorithm if you guys engage with the video, and I appreciate it. So yeah, I love you. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are out there in the world. Don't forget to spread kindness, you guys. Don't forget to stay hydrated. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!